But perhaps it will be seen that this is impossible for anyone, that one and the same substance that is our soul is in power to all intelligible things, which belongs to the possible intellect, and does them in act which is the active intellect, when it does nothing according to what it is in power, but according to what it actually is. Hence it will not be seen that the agent and the possible intellect can come together in one substance of the soul. But if one observes correctly, nothing inconvenient or difficult follows. For there is nothing to prevent this from being in one way in potential and in another in act, as we see in natural things. For the air is actually moist and potentially dry, but the earth is the other way around. Now this comparison is found to be between the intellectual soul and the phantasms. For the intellectual soul has something in actuality to which the phantasm is in potential, and it is in potential to something that is actually found in phantasms. For the substance of the human soul has immateriality, and as is evident from what has been said, from this it has an intellectual nature, for every immaterial substance is of this kind. From this, however, it does not yet possess that which is assimilated to this or that thing in a determinate manner, which is required for our soul to know this or that thing in a determinate manner. For all knowledge takes place according to the likeness of the known in the knower. Therefore, the intellectual soul itself remains in the potential for determinate similitudes of things cognizable by us, which are of the nature of sensible things. And phantasms indeed present to us these determinate natures of sensible things. These, however, have not yet arrived at being intelligible, since there are similitudes of sensible things also according to material conditions, which are individual properties, and are also in material organs. Therefore they are not actually intelligible. And yet, because in this man, whose likeness the phantasms represent, it is to accept a universal nature, stripped of all individualizing conditions, they are intelligible in potential. Thus, therefore, they have intelligibility in potential, but the determination of the similitude of things in actuality. On the contrary, it was in the intellectual soul. There is therefore in the intellectual soul an active power in phantasms, making them actually intelligible, and this power of the soul is called the active intellect. There is also a power in that which is in the power to determine the similitudes of sensible things, and this is the power of the possible intellect. However, what is found in the soul differs from what is found in natural agents, because their one thing is in power to something according to the same way as it is found in the other act. For the matter of air is in power to the form of water in the same way as it is in water, and therefore natural bodies which share in matter act in the same order and suffer one another. But the intellectual soul is not in power to the similitudes of things which are in phantasms in the manner in which they are there, but insofar as those similitudes are raised to something higher, namely, that they are abstracted from the individuating material conditions from which they actually become intelligible. And therefore, the action of the agent's intellect in the phantasm precedes the reception of the possible intellect, and so the primacy of action is not attributed to phantasms but to the agent's intellect. Now, the example of this would be entirely similar if the eye, at the same time as it is transparent and receptive of colors, had only so much of light that it could actually make colors visible. Just as certain animals are said to illuminate objects sufficiently for themselves by the light of their eyes, for which reason they see more at night, but less in the day, for they are of weak eyes, because they are moved by little light, but are confused by much. It is also like this in our understanding, that it is to those things which are most manifest, as the eye of the night is to the sun, whence the little intelligible light which is connatural to us is sufficient for our understanding. Now, that the intelligible light of our connatural soul is sufficient to perform the action of the agent intellect is clear if one considers the necessity of positing the agent intellect. For the soul was found to be capable of intelligible things, as the senses are of sensible things, for as we do not always feel, so we do not always understand. Now these intelligibles, which the human intellective soul understands, Plato held to be intelligible by themselves, namely, ideas, whence it was not necessary for him to posit the intellect acting as an intelligible. But if this were true, it would be necessary that inasmuch as some things are more intelligible in themselves, they should be more understood by us. This is evidently false, for things which are nearer to the sense are more intelligible to us, and things which are in themselves less intelligible. Hence Aristotle was moved to postulate that those things which are intelligible to us, there are no existences that are intelligible by themselves, but that they are made of sensible things. Hence it was necessary that he should put forth the power which would do this, and this is the active intellect. For this purpose, then, the active intellect is placed, that it may make intelligible things proportionate to us, but this does not exceed the mode of intelligible light, which is connatural to us. Hence nothing prevents us from attributing to the light of our soul itself the action of the active intellect, and especially when Aristotle compares the active intellect to light.